Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew listening in out there. This is David Pettijohn, your host. We are now about to hear our 25th episode, everybody. So we're excited that you came on and listened to Dr. Jim Ireland, who is responsible for the Emergency Medical Services, the Director of Emergency Medical Services in the city and county of Honolulu, which entails over 500 staff members. And he's looking for like 60 more, but it includes water safety, and it also includes the emergency medical services out there, ambulance services. So we're excited to hear what happens on his day in and day out, as they're helping the people of Honolulu stay safe, the entire island of Oahu stay safe, and also the visitors here staying safe. So we're excited to have our 25th episode here with Dr. Jim Ireland. And we are live. Welcome, Hawaii Boss podcast crew. And we've got a special guest for us today. And we're excited to have Dr. Jim Ireland here with us. And he's got a uniform on. So it's a little bit of a mystery here. So tell us what you're a very important, you play a pivotal role. And that's why we're in your office today. You play a pivotal role in the city and county of Honolulu in relationship to emergency services. And tell us a little bit more give us the full title.
So rewind to the late 80s, and I was out of high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I took one semester of college, and I took business classes, and very important classes, very interesting stuff. But I found that wasn't for me. That was debits and credits, and the cost of peanut butter going up and jelly going down to sell the same just wasn't something I could see myself doing. And so I actually I came from a military family. My great grandfather, my grandparents, they're in the military, and they're actually stationed in the Philippines. So after World War II, they were in the Philippines. My grandfather was here at Wheeler in the 30s. My father was in the Marines. And so I said, I need a pause. And I went and enlisted in the Army Reserves. And I wanted to serve, but I wanted to go in the reserves because I wanted to still, go to school. And I was, I liked college. Business wasn't for me. Super interesting, super important, but just personally, that was not my direction. So I went to the recruiter, and he gave me a list of stuff. I took some tests. He said, I think you should be a combat medic. And I said, well, I want to be a military policeman. He said, no, we really think you should be a combat medic. So I said, no, all right. So I enlisted. I went to Fort Knox in Kentucky and went to medic school, but basically EMT school, combat medic. Fort Sam Houston in Texas. Sure. And about that time, when I finished that training, I moved to Hawaii. I previously lived I grew up in Newport and Huntington Beach, California, and came out here. I was put in the 100th Battalion, the 442nd Infantry, which is the famous.
Yeah, the storied 442nd, yeah.
And I was in the reserves here, and we were down at Fort DeRussy at the time, kept Fort DeRussy very safe, no problems and no invasion of Waikiki while we were
lucky. Good. Manning your post.
With a great group of people. They're now at Fort Shafter, but that really got me interested in emergency medical care and pre-hospital medical care. And so I enrolled at UH. I was an anthropology major. I actually got my BA in anthropology, the study of people and cultures. But at the same time, for my employment, I worked at Queens Medical Center as a cardiac technician. I worked at a private ambulance called International Life Support. And I also worked at the city as an emergency medical technician on city ambulances by this time now, the early 90s. And so I was just fascinated by and called to EMS. And I just, for the people who do it, I think a lot of them will tell you it's a calling. They're drawn to it. Every day is different. You get to help people. People are generally happy to see you. Right. Doesn't pay the greatest in the world, but it pays decently. Sure. And you're outdoors, and there's just a lot of things to like about it. So I did that for a while, finished my college, went away, did medical training and residency and fellowship, came back to Hawaii in 2005.
Okay.
I'd been at the Mayo Clinic prior to coming back to Hawaii, and started working as a physician, but I still really missed and wanted to do EMS work. So I did some contracting work with the state Department of Transportation at the airport as a medical director. And I did the private ambulance, American Medical Response. I was a medical director for them.
Okay.
And then 10 years ago, I accepted a position originally appointed by Mufi Hanneman as the director of emergency services. And emergency services in the city and county of Honolulu oversees EMS, which is the ambulance.
Sure.
Ocean safety, which is the lifeguards and then the rescue ski program, and then health services, which is like employee health.
Okay.
I did that for 2.5 years. And that's an appointed position. So often that can change when mayors change.
Right.
So when the mayors changed in 2013, I went back to private practice and working with the private ambulance again as a helped in their operations.
Sure.
And then about a year ago, I applied for the chief of EMS and was selected for that at civil service.
Okay.
And in March, reappointed to the director of emergency services, what I had 10 years ago.
Sure.
At probably what people would easily say is the most challenging time for not only healthcare and EMS, but restaurants, the tourism industry, the bank, the grocery store. I mean, it's been something.
Everyone's had to work a little bit of overtime to try and figure this one out.
So here we are. That's it in a nutshell. But that's how I got back to this spot.
That is awesome. So I mean, that's a long sort of pathway. I noticed that your certificate as an EMT is still valid. So you're still out there. How do you engage? As we're in the boss's office. We're trying to figure out how you engage this. I mean, how many employees are you? I wouldn't say you're responsible for. I mean, there's different managers and things. But how large is your organization?
We have over 500 people. So roughly half EMS, half ocean safety, and then health services is a small contingent. There's a few doctors there, a PA, and it's maybe 10 or 15 people. But the divisions, ocean safety and EMS, are different in a sense that one is in a vehicle and they're going to 911 calls. The others are in towers or on the beach or in jet skis, rescuing people on the beach or in the water. But the commonality of the two divisions is they both help people. They both respond to emergencies. They both provide medical care. So they are different, but in a sense, they have some similarities as well.
Sure. And now, as you try to, in school, I remember in high schools, and I'm not sure they do this as much anymore, but it seems there may be some academies or different things that high schools are trying to do to create some pathways for folks to understand and learn about these different career vocations that are available for them in Hawaii. So, like maybe like a junior lifeguard sort of program, different things are out there, or again, ride-alongs that help folks that are in with high school. Tell us how you're engaging sort of the up and coming group to help them along.
So historically, we have done junior lifeguards and we've done junior paramedics, both for kind of an enrichment 1 to 2 week programs, kind of people can see what we do. We've also in the past gone to all levels of school, little kids, elementary and preschool too, but we've also found a lot of worth going to high schools to explain what EMS is as a vocation and as a career. COVID really derailed that because schools weren't in session. We couldn't have large groups of people together. But with the vaccinations now and the expectation that maybe in the next month or two, the age limit will go way down and younger kids can get vaccinated.
Sure.
I feel that by next year, even early next year, we're going to have this behind us. Now, I thought that a year ago too.
Well, again, we're all sort of hoping and guessing. There seems to be, we see progress, and then we kind of get hit with a new round of I don't know, and everyone trying to figure things out, but also then get back to normal too.
But getting back to your questions, want to do more to engage high school students, because high school students are in a very pivotal point in their life when they're trying to decide what they want to do. And EMS is a career you can go into. There's two ways in Hawaii. The traditional way is you go to do some prerequisites and you go to Kapiolani Community College on Oahu. The neighbor island community colleges offer it periodically, but Kapiolani Community College offers it twice a year, the EMT program. Okay, there are some prerequisites in math, English, medical terminology, but once you're in the program, it's a 1-semester program. You graduate, you get your EMT license after you take a test. Us at the city will hire you, or a private ambulance.
Right.
You work for 2 years, and then if you're at the city, then you have the option to go back to KCC to get your paramedic license, which is advanced medical care. But EMTs, they do oxygen, they start IVs, but generally if you need a defibrillation, if you need drugs, if you need an advanced airway where we put a breathing tube in your trachea to put you on the ventilator, that's all the paramedic. So after the EMT works for 2 years, gets experience, they go back to paramedic school, and we pay. We have a work study program. We pay for them, full-time students at KCC. It takes a year. You remain a city employee, come back to us in that year, and then you can then spend your career with us.
That's a tremendous program. I wonder, maybe there's not enough people that know about it.
Well, that's Avenue 1. Right, that's Avenue 1. Avenue 2 is even more exciting. KCC's done a great job going through putting out EMTs. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to renew my license. And so I actually went through that program like myself, even though I'd already got the military training.
Sure.
So I'm a graduate. But they only put out 20 to 30 EMTs a year, and we wanted more. Right. So this year, for the first time in 10 years, we had what's called an academy, where we asked people that had a high school diploma and a CPR card to apply. We had about 500 applications. We interviewed about maybe 120 people. Wow. And we selected the first 25, and they're in the academy now. And we're going to select another 25 probably end of this year. So going forward, we're going to probably do one of those academies a year. So you can go in the college way and get credits, and we hire you that way, or you can go just directly as a city employee. And then when you're in the EMT class, you're not only a student, but you're a paid city employee.
Well, that seems like a real easy decision to make, that you can be on the payroll. And that's a lot of it sort of mirrors or feels like a bit of a military training model where, you're working and training at the same time. You're learning the ropes and gaining access, also the benefits of being an employee. So
without the yelling.
Right. Without all of the yelling and push-ups, right? You don't have to make them do push-ups. But my wife, sorry, I have to add, there's a story. Yes. My wife, I think she wants to be an EMT, not necessarily an EMT, but she wants to be an ambulance driver because she's that good. No, anyway, I tease her. But anyway, do they learn some of the, how to get through traffic in Honolulu? How does that work?
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is so the birth of EMS was probably in the 30s and 40s, because really before 1920, there were no cars, really to speak of. And basically people were in Cadillac ambulances, and they were ambulance drivers because they had very little training, or they were just trained in first aid. And so that term kind of stuck, ambulance driver.
Right.
And actually our teams actually have to have so much training now. That's almost an offensive term if you call a paramedic an ambulance driver.
Right. There's so much more. Yeah. They're a healthcare professional. Right.
Right. But in the 70s, when the birth of the paramedic program came and they learned all these drugs, because these are things that only before doctors could do. Nurses couldn't even do this stuff. So now, but part of our paramedic program is we put them through a program called EVOC, EVOC, Emergency Vehicle Operator Course. Okay. And you learn how to do evasive maneuvering, driving a little faster, emergency braking, avoidance. And we teach new employees how to navigate safely through traffic, because in emergency operational mode, you are allowed to disregard traffic laws, which sounds quite exciting.
Right.
Red lights and speeding and things. But we always make sure that we get there safely and our patients get to the hospital safely. So there's something called due regard, and I'm not a legal scholar, but you can't, act like a maniac.
You can't just blow through an intersection. You still got to, you've got the right of way, but you still have to check and make sure that there's no one that doesn't see you or somehow, right?
Yes, and we try to teach everybody, or we do teach everybody how to navigate safely from point A to point B. But and I had a great driving instructor when I was at the city, Philip Valentine. He's now passed, but there's these historical places that they take us all to. There's a place in the Lehigh called Frog Lane, and the mirrors on the ambulance have 3 inches of clearance on each side going down this little lane. And Auld Lane in like the Lehigh area is actually broken up into 3 parts because of the freeway. So you have to know which address, so you know which part of Auld Lane to go on.
And especially if you get tied up in a one-way, or you can be that could delay you by 10, 15 minutes.
On ramps, off ramps, maneuvering, where all the hospitals are. So they get all that in their orientation. But we want to put somebody out on the streets that's competent, that can get to and from places safely, but above and beyond, and most importantly, that they know how to treat people right, and they take care of people, and they have compassion. And we try to just on the daily put people, we try to be in their shoes. Like, how would you feel if you needed to call the ambulance and needed that much help? And it's as the director, it's heartwarming to get the letters from the appreciative patients, and even if it's something super, super tragic where someone passes away, a lot of times our paramedics and stuff will take the time to console the families and at least give them some peace, even though they can't help their loved ones. So it's a tough job, and that's why the people, when they go into EMS, everybody doesn't stay. Some go into nursing or medicine, some go to the fire department, and some just say, hey, this isn't for me. I want to go back to hospitality or business or some other thing. And
that's okay. That's part of career exploration and sort of our own exploration on what fits for us. There's different vocations, but certainly valuable tools that are lifelong, skills and things that, it's almost like, maintaining your, CPR and being a first aid preparer, first responder. That's always like, we love to have those people around, right? Even if they're not on duty, that, they're there and they're helping, and they have that sort of that service and compassion that they're always willing to give it. But it can be heavy and weighty. So I assume that there's resources for the folks as they process their job of like, hey, we've, that there's some feedback. The city provides some resources for folks to help them through that. And
internally, we have a peer support group, and it's a group of paramedics, and they will reach out to our own paramedics and EMTs and team members who encounter something that's just above and beyond kind of the normal tragedies that they go to.
Right.
Pediatric calls are especially tough. Crimes of just violence that are just unnecessary.
Sure.
And this loss of life that really is kind of above and beyond. Like I said, just there's no normal tragedy, but there's just some calls that are worse than others.
Right. And maybe you've never been exposed to that. So processing that information and helping also that there's other family members that may be around as you come into a situation. And so again, it does take a special type of person, sort of a calm person in the middle of the storm. And so again, we do appreciate and celebrate all of their service, especially during this very difficult time. They've had to pack in their, into the little, vehicles with all of their PPE on over the top of there as they're trying to work with patients and things. So, bravo to all of them for sure.
I want to circle back to one other thing. We just got a request, I think, from the principal of Waipahu High School. I just saw it preliminarily that they asked for an old ambulance for a program they want to do.
Okay.
And we've never really done that before, but once our ambulances get like 200,000 or 300,000 miles on them, we just auction them off anyway, and they get stripped of all their stuff. But I thought, what a fantastic idea if they could do an Explorer program or just their own kind of mini paramedic program to get kids engaged and learn about it. And
right.
And if we can give them one, I'd like to do it. And again, I just kind of saw preliminarily the report, but that kind of engagement with high schools, I find very potentially really productive to open up the eyes to kids on a new career. And it's a recruitment tool for us.
Right. And there's other people.
We have 40 vacancies.
of, hey, you need to, there's some overtime that you want to get rid of. We love providing overtime for folks, however, but also just to cover all of the needs, day in, day out, 7 days, 7 days a week, 24/7. It's go, 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 I'm sure. So, and that's interesting. You say that about Waipahu, and then also on the west side, they're doing a lot of things where they're getting together with the communities and different private organizations too, to try and, for training and different things. So I think there's lots of opportunity for people to sort of hooey around this when we're trying to find all these, where's the pathway for our young guys and girls and ladies coming up. And certainly if it's not driving around in an ambulance, I know there's folks that need to, field those calls that come in. So you provide 911 services. Is that right?
Yep. We have the JTMC, which is the Joint Traffic Management Center down by the police station, has the police, fire, EMS, and ocean safety all in the same kind of giant room. When you walk in there, it reminds me of a casino. It's just this big room with no windows. And ocean safety has a few people on, and EMS has maybe a half a dozen, and they field the calls for those emergencies. And it's a tough job. I go in there, try to go in there once or twice a week just to see what's going on and see how they're doing. And it's high stress because people are at their worst calling for EMS for their loved ones. They are super stressed. Sometimes they're yelling. And the dispatchers have a tough job because, number one, they have to find out what's wrong. They have to get everybody going who needs to go. Police, ocean safety, EMS, fire, coordinate. And then what they try to do is they get more information to help the folks responding.
Right.
Have you had a COVID vaccine? What's the best way to get into the house? If it's bleeding, they teach them how to stop the bleeding.
Okay.
They have these pre-formatted cards based on the type of call it is. They've talked people through delivering a baby.
Wow, that's amazing.
So they're great on both sides of the house. And then, the lifeguards, I don't know as much about personally as a lifeguard. I was a junior lifeguard. I was a pool lifeguard at the Kahala YMCA when I was 18 or 19. But I've never been an ocean lifeguard. And that I think is a calling for people who love the ocean, who want to be at the beach, who like ocean sports. A lot of our lifeguards are ex or current, surfers or professional surfers or bodyboarders.
Right.
A lot of them take their vacations and still fly all over the world to catch these, epic waves.
Right.
And, we all look out on the South Shore, like right now, when it's pretty flat, and, people still get into trouble.
Right.
But what the lifeguards do is what's called preventative actions, where, let's say like down at Sandy Beach, they'll intercept a family coming, especially if they don't look like they go to Sandy Beach, and say, you know what, let me tell you about this beach. And then you can decide if maybe you want to go down to Waimanalo or somewhere else. And these preventative actions, they do hundreds of thousands of these, and they save lives. It's just, it doesn't make the paper because nothing happened.
Right.
And then on the flip side of that, when the surf's up on the south side, and certainly the North Shore surf in the winter, there's only a handful of people in the world that can do that kind of rescue.
Right.
And especially,
so it's like a special teams group up there that have to cover during these large swells, it sounds like.
Unbelievable skills. I mean, you're going to swim out in a 50-foot swell. I mean, it takes a special person to do that kind of rescue. And that's the teams we have. So I'm just humbled to just be around all this greatness, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's one thing as a boss, recognizing all the skill sets. You can't really do it on your own. You sort of, as the lead across, 500 people, you can't meet everybody every day. But, you instill in all of the leaders there that this and the things that they already bring to the table just because of their experiences and things. It is amazing the type of work that they do. But we want to get about you a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe you weren't into water rescue and things like that, but you're a bit of a thrill seeker. Tell me a little bit more about the helicopter, the air rescue. And, are we talking, is this a great way to provide services and emergency services? And is there still a great need?
For the helicopter?
Yeah, for helicopter and for rescue services, as far as, the work that you did, the life support ambulance.
So I actually never did air rescue. I mean, I was a combat medic. I was, like I said, I was in the infantry. I served at the time of the first Iraqi conflict, but our unit wasn't deployed. So, most of my military time was on bases in the US training or in Hawaii.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time at Kahuku. But I never, we had other units or adjacent units that would do air rescue, but I actually never was an air combat medic. I was a ground medic.
Oh, okay. So I apologize. I misread that. So now the air options that are available in your organization now, what kind of, that's a special set of teams too.
Yeah, so the rescue right now on Oahu, air rescue is the Honolulu Fire Department and the Coast Guard out in the ocean.
Okay.
There may be a private air ambulance life flight coming to Oahu, staffed with paramedics, but it would most likely be a private venture. And those paramedics would work for a private company.
Okay.
There is a helicopter, a private air helicopter in Kona.
Okay.
And also on Maui. So the Maui paramedics will fly on that helicopter. Historically on Oahu, we had used the military mast, and they provided, our paramedics would jump in the helicopter, but we actually at the city EMS did not operate one. That was the fire department.
Okay. Yeah. And that's, again, from a citizen point of view, we always try to figure out, okay, who does what, there's so many different, what's the way up to the organization, but because it's complicated for us, we're sort of outsiders.
Yeah.
As from outsiders perspective, what do you think the public most needs to know about all the services that you provide, or that, some of the most important things that they need to know as we engage with, members of your team?
Well, one of the things I think is not only, EMS and ocean safety are just so well-trained and professional, but they do need other agencies in certain types of calls. And one thing I'm also proud of is our team works very, very well with the Honolulu Fire Department and the Honolulu Police Department. We all go to a lot of the same calls and work very, very well together. So in fact, on the most critical medical calls, the fire department gets dispatched at the same time as EMS.
Okay.
Because they have 41, 42 stations, and we have 21. The chances are they can get there a little faster and start first response, first aid, defibrillation. And in ocean safety, if we have a swimmer in distress, the lifeguards and their jet skis can usually get out there in a matter of minutes, but sometimes they need more assets, and the fire department has a boat and a helicopter. And so we all converge on the scene together to work together to save the person or people. If a boat with 10 people flips over, you're going to get the ocean safety, Honolulu Fire Department, Coast Guard, and if then there's injuries, EMS will stand by on shore to receive the patient. So it's really a team effort, because no one organization can excel in all of those things.
Yeah, having that all under one umbrella would be very challenging, because so how has technology informed that? Have your communication systems gotten better over time so that can actually happen, where the code goes out and everybody knows what they're to do?
So first of all, we have these cell phone trackers, so we know where the person's calling from. And when a tourist gets hurt on some ridge somewhere and they have no clue where they are versus, Olamana Trail versus whatever, that will ping on our 911 dispatch map and at least tell the dispatchers where that person is. Okay. This is the radio we carry. I just happen to have one.
Okay.
And on this radio, it has what's called interoperability. And that means, and you can hear him talking here. Yeah. I can talk to the fire department. I can talk to ocean safety. We have an interoperative channel where we can all talk to each other. So this makes talking to each other on a scene a lot safer and a lot easier. Sure. And a lot of these recommendations came out of the 9/11 Commission, out of that tragedy 20 years ago, because they couldn't talk to each other and share good and bad things about what was happening with that scene. And so this is a brand new radio system called P25. We have interoperability, and it really helps. The other thing is both EMS and fire department, and I think the police as well, in certain circumstances can live stream a camera from one of the trucks right into the dispatch center if they need to see what's going on. That's not common, but we can do that. Right. Well, that's I think technology like that will probably continue to expand and provide
further resources, et cetera. Won't take care of everything though, because we're dealing with this pandemic. We're still masking. How are your teams, engaging still with that? And as people are trying to take their masks, again, we're trying to get a whole, should we wear, should we not, or whatever like that. But now folks are engaging and again, anything we can, as we're engaging the emergency medical services, what should we know for safety wise in COVID?
When this started, I was actually still the medical director at the airport with the Department of Transportation. So I wasn't in this department, but first responders across the country had a high level of concern when COVID started because they were catching it. Doctors were catching it and nurses were catching it and they were dying.
Right.
So the department here followed the best practices that they could from the CDC and our own local health department and experts, and made a PPE and decontamination plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked great. In the first phase of the pandemic, we only had one full-time employee get infected.
That's great.
And he had another job outside of EMS. And so I'm not even 100% sure where he got his illness,
Mm-hmm.
made a full recovery, came back to work. And we just had our second full-time employee a few weeks ago test positive. He's also made a full recovery. But what's interesting is we've had over 1,000 known COVID patients in the ambulances that we knew about, probably
Right.
a few thousand more we didn't know about. And to get through all that with 250 people in our department and 2 infections that may or may not have got it at work,
Sure.
is a testament just to their professionalism and the PPE works.
Right. And it sounds like, again, it's an infection control procedure. And it sounds like they already had that dialed in. It sounds like they were doing that already, because that doesn't really happen unless they were doing it already. So they were well practiced and well trained, it seems.
But it changed things because before, when you went on a call, you get beeped out, beep, 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 crash, car crash, go to the car crash, take care of the people, put them in the ambulance, bring them to the hospital, take them into the ER, give the report to the doctor. You call in on the radio before.
Right.
Come out, maybe clean up some blood, you get back, write your report, you get back in service.
Right.
And that took maybe 45 minutes to an hour
Uh-huh.
to do all of that.
Right.
Well, now though, they go in the back, they go in the back and they spray everything and they disinfect these other, they got extra gowns on and goggles. So what it did is it added time onto the call, the decontamination, because it's way more detailed. And then the other thing that's happening now is the hospitals are so busy, they can't take the patient from the ambulance right away. They
Mm-hmm.
say, you wait in the hall a little while, and that little while can be up to a half hour. So
Right.
the calls now are stretching out longer and longer, but the call volume is still there.
Right.
And so instead of having a 10 to 30 minute break between calls, as soon as you're done cleaning, you go to the next call. So COVID is definitely taxing and stressful. And to be honest, we're all looking forward to just be over and go
Right.
back to just kind of the normal emergencies,
Whatever normal is, but certainly not having to deal with this added stressor and the potential risk for infection and infecting others and things. So again, like you said, an awesome testament to their professionalism. Again, kudos to them. So as we're coming out of this and you're looking at your operation as the big boss out there, where do you see things moving in the next 5-10 years? What are some other things that you see as a need out there related to emergency preparedness or ocean safety?
Our ocean safety teams have done such a good job with preventative actions and teaching people about dangers before they get in danger.
Mm-hmm.
I want to export that to some other areas of life on Oahu. And I think I'd love to be able to engage partners in trail information on educating people on the dangers of certain trails and how to be
Sure.
trail safe. New parents, how to keep kids safe from car seats, poisons, things that hurt little kids. The elderly, falls and issues with that. So I think preventative health injury prevention is somewhere where we'd like to go to reduce our business, which is a good thing.
Right. You're getting out on the front end, right? Instead of having to use the ambulance,
And then the other thing that's going to be up and coming later this year is a project called CORE, Crisis Outreach Response Engagement. And that's really directed at the homeless. And our department's going to take that program.
Wow.
Have taken that program. And what happens now is, and you've walked around Waikiki and Chinatown and really at different places of the island, and there's someone laying on the sidewalk, and
Sure.
they probably live there. Their maybe hygiene is poor. They may be mentally ill. They're not doing well. And people are concerned, so they call the ambulance.
Right.
The ambulance comes, we take them to the ER. Yeah, maybe nothing's acutely wrong with them.
Mhm.
The ER says, okay, you're fine. Because, they're full of COVID patients and everybody else who's actually got a lot of, major
Right.
medical and trauma patients. So that homeless person walks out to the sidewalk and lays back down. And, there was one guy in Kaneohe, he generated 6 911 calls yesterday. That's a true story.
Right.
So this core project is going to be a couple ambulances, probably with EMTs, not necessarily paramedics. But after the ambulance goes and they say, hey, this guy doesn't even need, or this lady doesn't even need to go to the hospital, but they're in distress here, the core team is going to take over, and they're going to probably take them to a city facility, a clinic or some city facility, and do case management.
Start resourcing that person rather than just
where do we
sending them to the ER that can't even resource them a little bit.
Or they get arrested and go to jail, and maybe they're breaking some law, but it's a law of trespassing or something like this. It's not these heinous crimes where they're hurting people, and they really don't belong in jail either. And so we got to find a way, and I think the mayor has been very clear with me that we need to short circuit this daily deal,
right?
Because it's tying up the police and it's tying up the ambulances, and so we're going to try, and we'll see how it goes, and maybe we'll circle back in 6 months to see. But I really, our department is proud to take on that mission, and we know it's not easy. Otherwise, it would have been done already.
Well, yeah, I'm sure in that meeting, I'm not sure everyone was ready to put up their hand to say, yeah, we could do that. We gladly help out with that because it is an unsolved problem for many, many years. And many have looked at it and said, what do we do? And not knowing an answer. It's been very difficult.
And they're human beings. They're deserving of compassion. They're deserving of our help. But at the same time, it's really not fair to take parks away from children who want to play. It's not fair to businesses to, there's been, I know businesses that have struggled or gone out of business because they've got 5 or 6 people lined up in front of their entrance and people can't get into their businesses. So, we're not going to infringe on people's rights. We're not going to go grab people off the street, but if people are in distress and they ask for help or they need help or people are calling 911, we want the core team to do a different avenue than ER or jail.
Right. And I think, what you're saying and talking about it, I think everyone is interested in that same outcome. The hospitals, Queens, they don't like to see them come in their ER and go right back out either if they need resources. But again, I think they're interested in partnering with folks so that that they can help to stop that cycle as well. And insurance companies, HMSA and, again, what can be done and I think Hawaii is historically known to be able to hui and kind of figure this out, but this one's just been such a hot potato for so long. Trying to get folks together to a table about it is a challenge enough.
Well, and we all know, and I think have learned how important the visitor industry is, because when COVID caused this shutdown and we lost visitors, we saw how many people were impacted at restaurants and hotels and everything else. But I think if we're being honest, the homeless crisis impacts the visitor industry because they contribute to a negative impression of visitors, but as well as people who live here too.
Sure.
And I think there's no loser if we can solve this.
Right. Yeah. And if we don't, it will continue to be sort of an issue. It's sort of like, as a family, we have to sort of figure out what to do with this sort of situation and make some inroads. So, congratulations. Not congratulations, but more in line is like, thank you for, I think the idea of starting to bring this to the fore because it appears that, there are some people out there that have some real needs that we can do a better job of providing services for and aloha.
I learned that there's a community health worker program at Kapiolani Community College.
Mm-hmm.
And they started this, I don't know, a year or so ago. And I didn't even know about this program. And look at this stack of applications I have.
Okay.
Who are interested in coming to help us at CORE. Okay. So we have ARPA funding, and we're going to hire community health workers right from KCC.
Okay.
Who, maybe they want to be a social worker at some point in their life, or maybe they want to go to the EMS, but they have a calling to help vulnerable people. And this is going to be our team. We're going to use EMTs because they're the ones who are going to drive the ambulances and the vehicles. But we have a strong case management component to this problem and this crisis. So we're going to bring these guys on as well. And, hopefully we're up and running by the end of the year, but I'm excited. New challenge for us for sure.
Well, and one good thing you might consider for me, as I try to move ideas along, getting those good results, the data that comes back, what are we really, shooting for? What are some of the outcomes? How many people are we serving? Each, and I know you guys have those statistics and things like that related to how many, EMS and how many life saves and all of those kind of things. So I'm sure this is sort of new, so it might have a different sort of requirement for different metrics.
Well, what's interesting is we'll definitely keep track of how many people we placed in housing or in transitional housing or homes, or how many people we got off the street. And at the end of the day, those numbers are super important. But I also think there's, I don't know what the right word for this is, but there's the test of just driving down the street and not seeing a homeless encampment every 30 yards. And Can you drive past Muay Thai Park without having to look like, it's an encampment? Or can you drive down Colacao Avenue and not get harassed by mentally homeless people who've decided to live there? What does Chinatown look like? And so, we're definitely keep track of numbers, but I think people are going to need to see change,
real impact, right?
To appreciate, to appreciate what we're hopefully going to be able to achieve. And we have high goals, but we're also realistic because, like I said, if this was easy, it'd been done already. Right.
So we're just looking for open feedback as you attempt. This is a valiant attempt to put some resources to it. Like you said, there's a grant, and I think there's more resources available out there. I think the federal government is recognizing, particularly for seniors too, this gap of resources available for folks, and how do we make that happen? So I think with smart grant writing and this sort of perspective. And not going the same old way, you may create some more opportunities. Anything else out there that you see on the horizon?
I think, the population is growing, it's aging. So we're going to open up more ambulance stations over the next 5 to 10 years. More people with social media are learning about spots on this island in the ocean that they never knew about before, only locals knew. So we have challenges at like Electric Beach out by the Kahi power plant.
Sure.
Tons of people out there. We don't have a tower there. Sharks Cove, I could go on and on. So ocean safety is going to need to grow. We're going to need to get more towers. We've recently done the dawn to dusk, what's called the extended hours. The towers, lifeguards used to go home at 5 p.m. But the beachgoers didn't know that.
Right.
We now have mobile responders going till 7 p.m., starting at 7 a.m. So that expansion is going to be key to these open ocean rescues. So I think just the growth with tourism, finding secret spots, the population growth with EMS, those challenges are just growing. To meet those needs is a big, what I see on the horizon, in addition to core and in addition to kind of the injury prevention model.
Well, it sounds like you've got your work cut out for you, but a guy that's over this large organization, we try to find out a little bit more. I mean, again, I think we need to do one more round of sort of kudos for all the folks that work in your, in your departments and things. And I'm sure that, there's others that, they just love their job, I'm sure, doing what they do. And so we celebrate them. We should celebrate them more often, for sure.
So the best part of my week is when I get go to the beach and interact with our lifeguards, whether it's just in the tower talking story. I was in one of the towers. I think I was at Rock Piles or one of the North Shore towers last week, and I spotted a shark before they did, like 2 seconds before they did. I saw shark, and they complimented me on my quick reflex. I had glasses on, so it was a little shark. It wasn't a dangerous shark, but and when I go out with the jet ski operators and they show me where their high risk rescue spots are, and I'm out in the water with them, that's the highlight of my week. Or when I get a chance to just go to the ER and stand outside where the ambulances pull up and talk to the crews when they come in. I'll jump on an ambulance once in a blue moon, or with the supervisor, and we'll go to a call together. And number one, it lets me see what they're seeing firsthand. I can look at their equipment, make sure they're getting what they need, making sure things are just running smoothly at the ground level, and they're not missing anything. They talk about this management by walking around. I mean, that's my favorite part of the week. I love talking to people like you. That's my second favorite part of the week.
Awesome.
And then the rest of the meetings and everything else in the budget is way down the list. But when I get to go see a patient with our crews and just watch them, in their full action, doing their thing. And even if it's not an exciting call, just the way that they comfort people and take care of people. I really like that. I went on a call the other day with them, and the lady goes, and I had done an interview earlier that night about COVID or something on the 5 o'clock news, but it was recorded earlier. And then we were on the call and they said, wait a minute.
Hey,
we just saw you. Came here to take care of your wife. And, and we were with our team. And so to be honest, that is my favorite part of the week. If I can carve out a half a day to spend with, ocean safety or EMS, I try to go to health services too, to talk story with them. That's a smaller operation. That's unfortunately,
they're sort of self-contained.
Yeah. I don't get down there as much as I'd like to, but I'm in an office and I'm getting out, and that's why I went into this in the first place. I wanted to be out. Right. And so,
that's nice that your workplace is, you can go out to Waikiki Beach, or you can go up to the North Shore,
Who can do that?
Yeah. Who's, who can, that's a good situation.
And lately it's just been reinforcing the appreciation we have from the administration, us, me, the other chiefs, on just what everybody's doing at the front lines, taking care of COVID patients. When our lifeguards do beach rescue, they can't wear a mask. It doesn't work in the water. Right. That's riskier, So, I thank them for that. And so tough times right now, but I'm super proud of just everybody on our team that's doing just this heroic work. It's good. Well, I got a great job.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's a great job.
Yeah. So again, like you said, it's not for everybody, but those who are into it, and gosh, it sounds like you got a great team that you're working with, and again, from the administration down, you guys are trying to lay some tracks here. I hear some of the ambulance out there right now. So yeah, that's hard at work. But the boss at the end of the day, sometimes there's a pauhana. You kind of have to unwind a little bit. That's what at the end of the Hawaii Boss, we interview a little bit, find out about you, but we want to find a little bit more about you. And so, tell us a little bit about, do you have a place where you, family, or you just like to go to unwind on Hawaii, anywhere in Hawaii?
Kailua Beach is a favorite. Taking a ride on a horse at the Gunstock Ranch, or
no way. That sounds fun.
One of the ranches on the North Shore, or even in Waimanalo, is a lot of fun. I'm a lover of food, so we have such fantastic restaurants here and food diversity that when I'm on kind of after work, love visiting a lot of different places. It'd probably take me a whole podcast to name them all.
For sure.
And, by the way, people who work on the ambulance know all the best food places.
That's right. And how the fastest way to get there. Yeah. Especially, they know which one. If I got a call after that and I've got dinner, so I know where, some of the spots they're going to go. But
family time's important. I've taken up, I do Muay Thai. So every Sunday I fight with a friend, and he's gentle. I don't get hurt too bad.
Well, I took up Muay Thai, Muay Boran in town here. There's a place that I've been going to. So, hey,
So we don't have to put this on the podcast, but which one do you go to?
It's Muay Boran is the name of the place, and Crew Dan is his. In his last name, I just go by Crew Dan. So it's in town. It's Kakako area.
That's who I fight with. Dan.
No way.
Yeah.
No way, really? Yeah. So I've been off and on with as I can with COVID and things like that. Tuesdays and Thursdays getting.
No, he had like a positive in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I haven't, so I haven't even been paying attention because I know it was kind of like he was trying to do online and stuff. But anyway, great coach, and no way. That's an interesting
So I've
connection.
been maybe 3 years I've been with him.
Yeah. So you probably kicked my, backside as we go.
No, I'm not. But no, it's, at the end of that, you're sweaty and you feel like you got some energy out, and you feel like you accomplished something,
Right. No, it's a good full body exercise. Plus you're learning something, you're engaging your mind and
Kaetsu, I think.
Yeah. Dan Kaetsu. That's right. Sorry, Dan. Yeah. He's getting on the podcast next. He's coming on next.
Is he?
No, we need to, but yeah, now that I know we have that connection for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But,
and then the other thing that's kind of an oddity about me is, so when I was in the Mayo Clinic, I was there from 2002 to 2005. I was a medical director there too for a small ambulance company, but I had a mentor named Roger White.
Okay.
Now, he was an anesthesiologist, so I didn't, do that specialty, but he was fascinated with old ambulances and the history of ambulances, and he owned old ambulances.
No way.
So I would go with him, and I'd go to these junkyards, and I bought a few old ambulances, and so I own a couple Cadillac ambulances. So
like Ghostbuster style ambulance.
Yes, but they're original. They're not with all that silly stuff.
Right, all that stuff on it. Okay.
Yeah, not the vacuums and all that. But when I put them in the parades here at like Christmas or 4th of July, the last 2 years, I haven't been any parades.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, it's about time for a parade. We need to get the post-COVID, celebration. The sooner is better than later.
But they have ashtrays and cigarette lighters in the back of the patient car. I'm serious. They do.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, piping oxygen and getting your cigarette at the same time.
But the Cadillacs were elegant and they were beautiful cars. But they, as paramedics evolved in the 70s, they couldn't hold all the equipment paramedics needed to carry, and that's why we transitioned to the vans and the trucks. They're a lot rougher ride.
Right.
You got to carry all that stuff now.
Yeah, because you're an ER on wheels.
Basically.
For the most, right.
Basically.
And so, yeah, it's amazing what sort of life-saving things can happen there. I don't know what do they call you out on the line there? Doc? They call you.
It's funny is people I worked with when I was in this department, they still call me Jim because that's how they knew me.
Right.
And I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because people before I was a doctor, I was Jim, and they still call me Jim or Jimbo.
Right.
And you know what? That's fine.
Right.
Some people call me Chief because I'm the Chief EMS. Some call me Doc. But they can call me whatever they want, and I'll turn around. And I don't have a preference. Whatever people are comfortable with.
Well, awesome. Well, hopefully they at least call you those ones, and maybe some other ones as you're heading out the door. But it's like you say, it's a tough job. Commend you for taking up the challenge, and also your new work that you're engaging in with the homeless and their healthcare needs, and just an amazing thing that you're doing. We're so grateful that you were able to come on with us. Any parting words for the folks out there?
The other thing that's a little exciting is when I was here 10 years ago, I launched our Facebook page for the department 10 years ago, and that was exciting. Small goals, but we're revamping our website on the internet.
Okay,
that's going to go live. I don't know, maybe the end of the year. But our website is pretty sterile right now and pretty hard to navigate. But we want to have something that really is useful for people who want to work with us. They want to learn about the history of us. They want to learn about dangers on the beaches or on the trails. And so we're hoping that website will really be a conduit into not only who we are, but also safety and some really, and also directional where, maybe we've vetted, and we have to be a little careful because we're a city organization. We can't, unfairly promote certain private businesses over others.
Sure.
But if we can direct people to other resources where to learn things or get help, we want to do that too.
Right. You can become a well-designed website can be a hub of information for lots of different people who are engaging it and get out the information that's needed. If it's difficult and clunky, some people don't use it as a resource, and gosh, you've got a lot of information, safety information that could help save lives. Getting that out there is important. Yeah. So that's technology wise, that's I think on the future for us, and not that it's new technology, but it's new for us. The mayor looked at some of the websites and gave us some feedback on how he thought of them,
And I'm glad, and that's good feedback from the boss. And we need to. So we got some professional help, and we're going to buff that up.
Sure. Well, again, awesome work, and sometimes even if we're not out there on the internet, we know that you guys are out there on the ground running and making things happen. So again, Jim, thanks for coming on, Chief, and we'll hopefully as things progress and. Maybe if there's a star lifeguard you want to have on and invite them over to the Hawaii Boss and tell them, because we're interested in their career journeys, and how these, your path has led you here, that you probably didn't have any idea that this is something that where you would be, when you were,
our chief of lifeguards. So I'm the chief of EMS, but I have return rights, but I temporarily vacated that position. So the acting chief is Chief Sloman. He's career EMS as well. Came to us from the mainland about 5 years ago. Great guy. But our chief of lifeguards is John Pettijohn, born and raised here, was a beach lifeguard for 5 or 6 years, went to the Coast Guard for his career, went to law school, and now is back as the chief of lifeguards.
Well, now that sounds impressive.
So he's come full circle from a beach lifeguard. And, it's not necessary for this job to start in an entry-level position, but I got to say it sure helps.
Right. So you know how the things work from the ground up.
So that's that. I know this was my time to talk with you, and I appreciate it. But can you share with me maybe about you and your organization and how we can work together in the future?
Sure. Hawaii Boss, again, a podcast is where our goal is to get this the idea, the vocation. How do we stay in Hawaii and keep it Hawaii, and also live and work and keep the things that we hold dear here, but also make a living, because it's really challenging to make a living. And how do people who've sort of been through this process or have made a successful transition, however they've done it, and are living here in Hawaii successfully and enjoying that, maybe people can see that there's a way for them to do that too, and that's really the intent. So if there's other people that are, we're welcoming on big bosses who are over a couple of people, or someone who wants to become, something, or they're, in a program, like one of the core students or something like that. They're like, hey, this sounds good. We're trying to find perspective and add to the dialogue, of this. So that's the Hawaii Boss concept for us. But I have a day job too. I work in healthcare, and I work in nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities. And so again,
a lot of them, or just one or two.
Right now, just two. And so we're excited that for the opportunity to work we're working with some of the same types of folks that where we're located. There's a high need in the Liliha area and the Nuuanu area. There's a high need for, diverse language resources, these senior care resources, and also some of these folks that are seniors are also homeless or have some mental health issues that they're having a hard time with housing and different things. So certainly there's an opportunity as we look at these things, that's why I mentioned HMSA and Queens and different things. They're attempting to provide resources so that folks don't return to the hospital too, or return back out to the lower resourced areas and things. So that's a sort of a set. I mean, that's my day-to-day profession, is we're trying to find these solutions where we keep folks in the lowest level of care as long as possible, and don't get into this cycle of the ER and back to the house, or ER nursing home, back to the ER, this cycle so providing resources sooner, preventative, we're in the same, I think, direction, or we have the same desire, I think, that you do, because again, it's a drain on resources. Everybody recognizes it in a way that's maybe preventable. Not that it's a drain that we don't want to provide this resources for our kapuna, because certainly we do. But more, I think, importantly, is that we don't put them through trauma that they don't necessarily need with all these different transitions and things. So we're trying to, on our side too, trying to work on the prevention. As people discharge, we're trying to get them a doctor's appointment with their PCP and all their medications and things, so that the PCP knows and it gets a better handoff. And So there's things that we're trying to do that again, don't just, oh, well, they went to the ER and it's and that just took 3 hours of this service that maybe if we had some preventative, things in place, and that, the things we don't have to traumatize someone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. And Queens has, at any one time, I don't know, 80 people waitlisted trying to get out of Queens, and the return, they call them bounce backs. There's a bunch of different terms.
Right.
You're out a week and you come back, and the insurance companies at some point might start having financial penalties for that.
Right. And
nobody wants that.
Yeah. So so we do have to work together and align our sort of our intent, and trying to find good partners, so that, and I think it's coming this way. Technology is allowing that now, where we're able to have cloud resources that from the hospital, from their PCP, that now we can pull and really make sure that they're getting the correct medications. That's where you probably see a lot of issues with seniors, is in their home, with maybe they've taken the wrong medications for the last week, or didn't take their medications, or weren't able to get to the doctor to get this thing renewed, and therefore, so all these, and I think we're developing a post-acute, what do they call a post-acute, after the nursing home, basically, system network that can provide, all of these resources to prevent this, movement towards, the ER and all these very high cost, many times traumatizing experiences. So again, trying to keep folks in their home using, palliative care if necessary, and different things. So really trying to resource that's a large, we have to look at the percentages, but I imagine, you may have, what the age of your folks that you're and, how much that's a burden, not necessarily, I wouldn't want to say burden. Again, I try to, as far as how much of a load that is on the system.
Because anything we can do to, it's kind of like, we don't want to tell people we don't want your business, but we really don't want your business, because that means people sick or hurt or what have you.
Right.
But we know accidents happen. We know people get sick, and we're going to go. But to go less because of something was preventable, nobody would argue that that's not a good thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So now, does Hawaii Boss have funding, or is this?
No, this is me and a couple of friends are offering this opportunity to raise the discussion above the morning zoo here. So this is sort of a thing where we, just get together and talk with the bosses and to folks who are in the know and making decisions, and maybe we can start a dialogue on important things that mean something. So.
Well, I appreciate you thinking that I'm worthy of your show. So I thank you for that.
Well, again, the bosses come in lots of different forms and shapes, and so we appreciate your knowledge and what you brought today. And as again, we're excited as there's other exciting things going on in your department, or other members of your team that you'd like to have us visit with. We'd love to visit.
And likewise, I'll get with Shane and we can exchange information, and if we ever connect on your other stuff, that'd be nice too. If we could.
Yeah, bro. Tuesday night, we get your stance going.
I meant the healthcare.
Okay. No. Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah.
So Sunday, all we did is practice catching knees.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not feeling the best right now.
No, I'm an old man. It was okay. But I'll tell Dan that we talked. He'll crack up.
Yeah. No, I've been intermittent there, just because with my schedule and stuff like that. But he's been great.
Everybody's vaccinated. I think it'll be a lot safer. And now that they're going to mandate 100% vaccines, he was kind of freaked out by whoever was positive 2 weeks ago. But
right.
I think it ended up being nobody in the gym got it. So I think that's
right. Good. Yeah. Everyone gets weird, but yeah. And anyway, great coach. And it sounds like we got lots more to catch up on, but for today,
we'll put our pads on. We'll have some fun.
That's right. Well, Chief, thanks again. And hopefully we get to talk soon. Okay. Yeah. Aloha.
See you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.